The National Investigative Agency and the Enforcement Directorate have gone out and arrested multiple members of the PFI. But on balance, how strong is the evidence? Should the PFI be banned? Joining me on this broadcast, I want to welcome Sheshpal Vaid, former Director General of Police, senior IPS officer. We've got with us on this broadcast Sharfuddin Ahmed, National Vice President of the Social Democratic Party of India. We've got Rohan Gupta from the Congress Party. We've got Dr. Shoaib Alam Jamai, Chairman of the India Muslim Foundation. Deepa Ishwar joins us, well-known activist. Let me go across first and foremost to Sheshpal Vaid on the evidence that we have in the public domain so far. From what I've gathered by looking at the case put together by the ED and the NIA, some 60 crore rupees deposited in the accounts of the PFI, including cash deposits of more than 30 crore rupees since 2009. The ED and the NIA believe they have enough evidence to act against more than 106 members of the PFI. Is it time, according to you, Mr. Vaid, for the PFI to be banned? Do we have enough evidence to warrant that?
Rahul, I think a country like India has already been very late in doing this. If you ask my opinion, and as all the people who are watchers of the security situation, internal security situation in the country, the activities of PFI, in fact, for last now many years, have been out there in the public domain to destroy the internal peace, the internal security situation, and stop the march of India becoming a global power. In fact, it has linkages with a lot of foreign forces who do not want India to emerge as a global power.
The PFI says essentially we are like the Islamic version of the RSS. We work in society to try and improve culture, and that the government of the day has a problem with the PFI only because of the religion that the PFI tries to push. They draw parallels with what the RSS does. Why do you think this parallel is wrongly drawn?
That is their ploy, but I think ultimately, Rahul, everything will be judged in the courts, and evidence will be placed before the honorable courts, and there is sufficient evidence. Not today. You saw even this year when Ramnami processions were taken, how in many states across the country communal violence was engineered, attacks were engineered, and this was done with a particular act plan. Their cadres have linkages with the pan-Islamic terrorist organizations like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. You have so many incidents of communal violence, whether it is Kanpur or Kauli in Rajasthan, Bangalore, you name it. There's so many places, I can count many of them where its involvement, Delhi riots, anti-CA protest, how money was used, how international funding is coming, whether it is China, whether it is Turkey, whether it is Pakistan, how the money from Gulf countries is coming. It has, in fact, there are linkages even with terrorist outfits of Turkey, and how a meeting was arranged by their intelligence agency. You know, after Mr. Erdogan came, how Turkey is working to break India and against the country.
So you've made several points, and I want to put those to Sharfuddin Ahmed, because the case that I have read put together by the ED suggests that the PFI has district executive committees in the UAE, in Oman, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, from where funds are raised. Targets are given to these individuals to collect cash, transfer this through Hawala transactions, which are camouflaged as genuine business transactions. Whether it is the Hathras incident, the anti-CA protest, the Delhi riots case, it's the name of the same organization, the Popular Front of India, that comes up each and every time. Is it time, therefore, that the PFI be banned? Is action amounting to banning the PFI now inevitable?
Sir, I think this is premature, and court are to decide by giving the finding whether the PFI is involved or not. It is up to the court to decide. But I have 3 points to be raised before here. that despite several observations made by Honorable Supreme Court about the inefficient functioning of the investigating agencies, nothing has been done on the part of the government to improve the situations. So, Vineet Narayan, a very well-known person who has filed a petition in Supreme Court in Jain Hawala case, seeking the monitoring of the court in such a big case where the funding was attributed to be given to Hizbul Mujahideen. That case for 30 years has not been conclusively disposed of. The problem second is that the Supreme Court has several times said, and indications are there, done by the series of the articles just in Indian Express, that recent investigating series has indicated continuing bias of functioning in the investigating agencies. My point is also here, in April 2022, one of the former Pracharak of Sangh, Yashwant Shinde, made a complaint containing 15 pages detailing all the facts where the RSS has deployed in disruptive activities and bomb blast. That complaint was sent to NIA, sent to Ministry of Home Affairs, but no action has been taken, and ultimately Mr. Shinde, the former Pracharak who has been deployed in the disruptive activities, according to him, by the RSS, has sent a petition to Supreme Court to take the suo motu action because NIA and Ministry of Internal Affairs are not responding.
Okay, so let Deepa Ishwar respond to some of the points you're making. You're essentially saying that even if there are charges,
there is not even playing field in India.
These could be against individual members. It doesn't mean that the PFI institutionally is culpable. Let a court determine guilt. It shouldn't be done because the government of the day has a problem with the political views of the PFI. Only if the court finds these members guilty should a call be taken on whether the PFI should be banned or not. Deepa Ishwar.
See, Rahul, I am from Kerala, and PFI always reminds me of, that one incident that we all wish to forget back in 2010. And what happened to Professor Joseph at that point, and that is when Kerala had this terror of this particular organ. I do not think, I'm very sorry with due respect to all the panelists here, I do not think any organization set up or any institution set up with the belief of empowering any section of the community, be it women, be it laborers, be it any weaker section of the society, I don't think they would go for such gory activities. I do not think violence would be part of that. And violence to this extent would be, part of an organization that has a good intention. I am very sorry to say that, while I always talk for Hindu-Muslim unity and all of that, I still advocate for that. But at the same time, I totally welcome this entire investigation. I welcome the fact that the PFI is facing a threat and staring on the face of a possible ban that can happen. And that, I think, is a great move. And I totally welcome it because this is not good for the society. Such organizations, and that for that matter, any extremist organization, okay? Any extremist organization should not, survive in the society. And they should not hide behind the cover of empowerment, or they shouldn't, for example, now PFI was, institutionalized saying that they stand for charity, they stand for, empowerment of certain sections. That's what research says. But, the activities are very clear that they stand for violence, and it's not wrong for us to...
Let Shoaib Alam Jamai respond to this. Look at the cases that the PFI has been found to be involved in, or members of the PFI have been found to be involved in. Anti-CAA protests, inciting violence in the 2020 Delhi riots, social media posters related to the Babri Masjid, the NRC and Uniform Civil Code protests, protests over the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar. It seems almost as if the PFI is trying to foment trouble. Wherever there is trouble, they try and light a flame, and that, as Sheshpal Vaid says, is very disturbing from India's security perspective.
Hi Rahul, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. Though I am remotely not even connected to the PFI or SDPI, and absolutely been clear that any extremist organization who are threat to the internal security of our country should be banned, or they should be out of the action. But Rahul, now the PFI is under the clutch of NIA, and the onus is on PFI to prove their innocence, to let the scot-free. But my accusation is on the government, or the part of the policy is that, are you trying to systematically dismantle all the socio-religious and the political organization of the Muslims by targeting in a manner of strings they are targeting right now, from the madrasa to hijab to any NGOs to the political parties or their front? So these are the things that
but one second, you're trying to paint this as being part of a larger umbrella. Here are very serious charges leveled against one organization, and those are charges which are to do with hawala, getting money from abroad, using it for anti-India activities. That has nothing to do with any other matter which may be looked at simultaneously.
He's just trying to
absolutely not, Rahul. I defy to agree with this, that this is the part of that string. And you generalize two things. Shaheen Bagh Andolan. I was the national convener of the Shaheen Bagh Andolan. I was involved with the Rohingya welfare and to raise their voice. Do you think that any kind of terror funding or terror angle related to the Shaheen Bagh Andolan, and there is no case related to that? No, it's absolutely wrong. It's an absurd and it's a biased analysis regarding the anti-CA protest or the Shaheen Bagh Andolan. Because
okay, so SP Vaid, respond to the argument that Shoaib Alam Jamai makes, that these are uncomfortable causes for the government, whether it's the Shaheen Bagh agitation, the anti-CA protest, the anti-NRC protest, or trying to help these Rohingya refugees, because these are at odds with the government's ideological positions. Therefore, anything that you think can be found to be amiss is being blown up, and the PFI is being targeted because it is essentially pushing the larger Islamic cause.
I don't agree with him. That is his freedom of thought. He can have his views. In India, anyone can have his views, but the agencies will investigate wherever they suspect, and they will come out with proof, and ultimately it's in the courts which is the facts are placed and then decided. An organization which poses threat of imposing Taliban type Islam in India, in a country like India, you think action should not be taken against her? You saw what sinister design of Fulwari Sharif Bihar came out of turning India into a Islamic rule by 2047. I think today the most happy would be, one second, Mr. Jamai, let me speak.
Just an allegation, sir. And how you make a narrative of such things which have no basis.
Let him speak.
Rahul.
Mr. Jamai, let him speak. I'll come back to you in a moment for a counter. Let Mr. Vaid conclude.
The sinister plan was made bare its intentions, and India cannot sit back and allow this to happen. So, why is it that the PFI figures in most of the incidents of crime and in communal violence?
Targeted by NIA, that they are not involved with
I think it is high time today.
Okay, let SP Vaid respond to that there have been charges against members. One second, SP Vaid, the point he's making is, Mr. Jamai, let me put your question. The charge he's making is there have been charges against members who belong to the RSS, against members of the Bajrang Dal. It doesn't mean that the RSS and the Bajrang Dal themselves were culpable. It could have been down to individual culpability rather than institutional criminality.
Rahul, this question is to me.
Yes, SP Vaid, it is.
Yes, wherever anybody is involved, there is no protection for our umbrella, or protection from law to the RSS or to other organizations which are other than PFI. If they are involved, they would also be proceeded against. And if an individual is involved belonging to that organization, they ultimately in this country rule of law prevails. The courts decide, not Mr. Jamai or SP Vaid. Ultimately, they have to face the heat of the law. Let them face.
In Manipur, does the NIA have done any investigation? That they did not take any foreign donations in the name of Videshi Chanda? ATG, what is ATG and 24A? फॉरेन चंदा कोई सस्पिशियस चीज नहीं है। 80G और 24A हमारे यहाँ लेजिटिमेट और वैध चीज है जिसके जरिए से लोग फॉरेन डोनेशन देते हैं। RSS is taking foreign donation, BHP and Bajrang Dal is taking foreign donation. What does that mean? If someone is taking a foreign donation, that you paint them as a terror organization? What is that?
Okay.
RSS, yeah.
Hold that thought for a moment. I want to go across to Rohan Gupta from the Congress to get a sense of how the opposition is viewing this this series of arrests by the NIA against members of the PFI. Would the Congress support a move to ban the PFI, or do you think that will be too premature at this stage?
See, Rahul, as Rahul ji has told yesterday, there is no tolerance, absolutely zero tolerance against this kind of incidents, whether it is communalism, whether it is violence, whether it is hatred. Absolutely, we should not look at it from the perspective of any religion. It is about the country. So at the end of the day, whoever is responsible, irrespective of the religion, whether the individual or the institution, the strong action should be taken. But at the same time, it is a responsibility of the government to ensure that whatever steps they take against everybody. I'll give one example of BJP spokesperson. The hate speech has caused so much of issues across India. So my point is very clear, and that is the stand of Congress party, irrespective of the religion of the person, whoever is responsible for, deteriorating the harmony of the country should be taken to the task. And absolutely no tolerance, zero tolerance on that.
Okay. Raghav Avasthi, the charge being leveled by Shoaib Alam Jamai is that even the VHP, for example, collects international donations. Just because money is coming in from abroad for the PFI doesn't prove that there are terrorists, and therefore there is no basis yet to ban the PFI. Some members may have heard they must be acted against, but don't ban the PFI.
No, there are 2 or 3 things to be noted here. First of all, Mr. Jamai is absolutely correct in as much as he's saying is that there are legitimate ways to get your NGO funded from abroad. So that is one thing. However, in this case, one of the charges against PFI is that they have gone through Hawala channel that are used only by people who want to conceal the provenance of the funds that they are getting. So this is an angle that has to be investigated. And then we have to also keep in mind as to what is the goal and ideology of the PFI. You were absolutely right. There have been people who have flagged the PFI connection to the rioters in Delhi 2020. Apart from that, you look at their record in Kerala. They chopped off the hands of a professor because they did not like one of the questions that he had framed. So if this is the kind of intolerance and terroristic behavior that the PFI wants to espouse, then I'm pretty sure that irrespective of which government is in power, be it the Congress or the BJP, there will be no tolerance for this in India. And ultimately, I'm also sure that there will be attempts that shall be made to normalize the PFI or to paint them or portray them as if they are some sort of a social service or social justice organization. But the evidence against them is quite strong.
Now that's the point, Dr. Jamai, that the evidence is mounting. Whether it's the Chinese link in the Hathras case, the role of K.A. Rauf Sharif, who's a member of the PFI, General Secretary of the CFI, ED says 1 crore rupees was found with him. Rauf is an employee of a company in Oman. Money is coming in, and a lot of this money seems to be coming in from Hawala channels, and that is the problem. Of course you can raise money for charity, but you can't do it through Hawala.
Yeah, okay, let me respond to Rahul. See, I'm not saying that NIA does not have the power to investigate, or the government. Yes, government has the legitimate power to investigate any organization which are suspicious for involving any kind of illegal activities. I fully agree with that. But the thing is that there are 2 terms which should be used. There is one term called confirmation bias. One, you have prejudice against some organization. Then you try to collect some evidence which revolves around the same thing which you wanted to actually prove. That is called the confirmation bias. And the another thing is the open-ended investigation. Let's do an open-ended investigations, then come to some kind of conclusion that yes, we have some conclusive evidence and we can prove it in court. But the past 12 years there were several investigations which done by the other agencies, but not yet having single charges.
Respond to this. that this is essentially a confirmation bias that the agencies are pushing, because this is what you think is true and therefore you are acting as if it is in any court of law. So far, none of these charges over the past decade and a half have been proven.
Investigation agencies will collect the evidence. Ultimately, all those facts are placed before the court. No investigation agency is going to punish them unless the case is decided in the honorable court. And whether it is PFI, whether it is some other organization or individual, ultimately the power lies with the
No, but
Indian
Deepa
courts.
Ishwar, respond to that point about confirmation bias. Respond to that point about there being an assumption that the PFI is guilty. So it's not an independent, non-partisan probe. The agency or the government of the day has already announced their guilt, and therefore now whatever is being done basically is part of a confirmation bias.
No, I think my respected panelist is desperately struggling to find some justification to it. We are very much aware of what confirmation bias is. And you say that we have a certain prejudice towards the organization and we are trying to gather as much evidence to support our own prejudice. My first question to you is, why did this prejudice happen and why do we have this prejudice? There must be something that happened to trigger this sort of a prejudice. For example, I have this particular notion about this party because of certain proven violent activities that this particular organization has done in my state itself, in Kerala. So how is that just prejudice and how is that just a confirmation bias or gathering evidence to support my prejudice? These are things that have actually happened, and that's what Rahul Kanwal ji was also talking about. Mounting evidence is coming in.
Dr. Gemma, you speak out of turn. This is not right. Everyone else is being respectful. They're listening to you speak. You must surely allow Deepa Ishwar to conclude.
So I'm just saying that, when you have so much evidence around you and evidence is being collected one over the other, how can you say that it is a prejudice in the first place? It's no prejudice. These are based on facts. These are judgments based on facts. And today, if the NIA has cornered them and if there are people being arrested, I would say it's a long arm of law that's coming to, corner the organization that has cut off the arm of a professor years back. Now, isn't that actually an incident that has happened? How is it just a prejudice or just gathering of
Now, Rohan Gupta, I have these affidavits here from 2012 by the Kerala government at a time when Umen Chandy of the Congress was in charge of the state, and it says before the High Court that the PFI is nothing but a resurrection of the banned Students Islamic Movement of India in another form. Here is a Congress government making this charge before the High Court against the same organization.
See, Rahul, as I have told, if the central agencies have raided certain organizations and there are evidences against the country supporting communalism or violence, the action should be taken. I won't like to comment on a specific issue, but the point here is a larger point. It is a responsibility of the government, the central government, to ensure that action is taken against one and all. It should not be selective, number one, and even if they should set example by taking action against the people who are responsible for spreading hatred even.
Okay, Sharfuddin Ahmed, the party that you represent, the Social Democratic Political Party of India, evolved out of the PFI as its political electoral arm.
You have given the twice instinct to every panelist except me and included me. Yes, still, when you call me, I just have...
No, just listen to my question. The party that you represent is the political arm of the PFI. The charge against the PFI leveled both by the BJP and the Congress previously is that the PFI essentially came after the ban of the SIMI and is essentially just a mask which disguises the actual intent and activities of the SIMI. Because the SIMI was banned, the PFI is what we have right now, and therefore it should be acted against in the same way as the SIMI was acted against.
First, I deny your allegation that SDPI is a part of PFI. Likewise, as Hindu Mahasabha was never a part of the RSS. So SDPI has its own and its independent autonomous standing. The second part I just give you an answer is that you please be patient with me, that Jagannath Narayan Commission as well as Prannath Kapoor Commission has clearly given the judicial finding that RSS has been involved in the disruptive activities and anti-national activities. So, it's still the no officer takes that instance, and when judicial finding is there, the next is that the RSS, you have not taken the cognizance of my point. Just Yashwant Shinde is here to give the evidence that RSS is doing what this country cannot.
No, but why don't you respond to the charges that are being leveled against you? The fact that in multiple cases the PFI's name has come out in the investigation is always the PFI. Whatever happens in recent times.
Has any judicial finding been given by any court against the PFI in any case?
Let SP Waid respond to that. That's what it comes down to at this moment. You can level a charge because you don't like the PFI, but no judicial verdict has come against the PFI so far. SP Waid.
Be patient, be patient, please. The officer quotes the Fulbari Sharif. In Fulbari Sharif, the sitting police officer says there has been no connection with the religious organization. There has been no source of evidence of foreign funding. So the sitting SSP of Bihar has given the statement on the media, and it has been known by everybody, but thereafter NIA was deployed there. So when the case is at that time, BJP was also in the government under the Nitish. So this is the ineffective investigation which is wise, and it should be made apparently clear that justice be done through the investigation.
SP Waid, there is the court of public opinion, then there is the court of law. In a court of law, no member or the PFI itself hasn't been found guilty, and therefore a lot of this is just to vitiate the name of the PFI, argues Sharfuddin Ahmed.
Rahul, on mere prejudice or on your opinion, investigations do not go on. Ultimately, all whatever your prejudice may be, it will be only based on the evidence collected by the investigating agency, and I think a lot of cases are pending before many courts in the country. You just can't bring name of RSS to take a cover of your violent activities within the country. I think there is sufficient evidence all across the country in so many criminal and communal rights.
It is preemptive and immature to make demand to ban. Ban does not deliver any result in the democratic setup. We have to wait till the court gives a finding.
Saifuddin Saab, 1 minute suniye. Ban also doesn't, see, you banned Simi, what happened? Most of the cadres switched over to Indian Mujahideen.
What happened?
Banned Indian Mujahideen.
RSS has been banned 3 times. What happened? RSS has been banned 3 times.
So ban
what
is
has
not,
happened?
I think
it has multiplied many times.
An organization which is out there to destroy the India's internal security, whichever organization that may be, needs to be decimated. We cannot
a former Pracharak Yashwant Shinde repeat the same thing regarding RSS, that they are open to destroy India.
I am not here.
He has filed affidavit before NIA. He has filed affidavit before the Ministry of Internal Affairs. He has filed affidavit before the Chief Justice of India to take suo motu action that
let Raghav Awasthi respond to that,
by
that there are multiple charges against members of the RSS or the Bajrang Dal or the VHP. It doesn't mean that these organizations per se were responsible. Individuals too could be culpable.
People should stop indulging in this whataboutery. I find it absolutely astounding when the discussion is about the PFI, somehow the RSS and the gentleman from the Congress has to bring in the Hindu community and try and tar them with the same brush. That is not the case. The RSS, as this gentleman correctly pointed out, it has been banned thrice. The first time was after the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. After the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi, there was a commission of inquiry, and the commission of inquiry exonerated the RSS. After that, the RSS was banned for opposing the emergency. And I think that is a very laudable cause, and if the ban happened for opposing the emergency, then there is nothing to be ashamed of. This third time the RSS was banned was after the demolition of the, what I call the disputed structure at Ayodhya. So what I would like to say is that if the RSS is such a bad organization full of malcontents, then the Congress, which was in power for so long in India, ought to have banned it. It didn't ban it, and now there is an RSS pracharak who is the Prime Minister of India. So let us speak with a certain measure of respect. As far as the PFI is concerned, I repeat, there are allegations that they are getting funds not through legitimate channels. There are legitimate channels to get funds from abroad. There are my clients also, some of whom are in Australia or the UK. They also wire money to me.
Okay.
But I do it through banking channels. I don't use Hawala channels to get
Okay,
money
and
for
let
myself.
that be
I'm
the
really
last
sorry.
word on this debate. The charges have to be weighed against evidence. The strength of the evidence is what must determine whether or not the PFI can be banned, and it's not about what happens in the court of public opinion, it's what happens in a court of law, where investigative agencies need to establish that the PFI institutionally is responsible and therefore culpable and therefore must be banned. We will track what happens from here very, very closely. I want to thank our guests for joining us.